I'm Debbie.
And I'm Jan.
And today we thought we'd talk to you about some of the expenses and what you can financially expect to pay and spend when you come to the villages.
Right, you think it's a cheap community, and it can be. And we're going to kind of show you some of those expenses.
Yeah, just so you have an idea, some of the mandatory things that you're obviously going to have to pay, and then some of the things that you may end up paying because you want to have some extra fun.
Right, yeah. Some fun's not free.
No, most of it is though.
Yep.
So first thing, of course, and you're paying it now if you own a home, is your property taxes. So most of the villages is in Sumter County. And so the rate per thousand, so what they do is and it's normally the same across the country, but the property assessors go out, they do an assessment, which is usually less than an appraised value. It's not the appraised value, it's usually less, but they do an assessment. And here in Sumter County, we're paying $13 per thousand for our property taxes. So you can kind of get an idea. If you're looking at a home here, just go to the Sumter County, if you're in Sumter County or whatever county, that website, you can pull up the property address and you can see what the property is currently being assessed at. Now, one of the unique things about town here in Florida, or at least in Sumter County, is that they don't regularly reassess the properties. So a lot of times, like I purchased my home in 2001. So that was the assessment that they're still using. And so the nice thing is,
you shouldn't say that out loud.
I shouldn't say it out loud. But so the great thing is that we're paying property taxes that are a little bit lower than possibly like if we resold it to you, then the county's gonna see, well, this is what they paid now, so we need to do a new assessment. So just keep in mind that the assessment you may see online may not be the same as once you purchased a home. So just kind of keep that in mind. Your realtor probably can help you determine a pretty good estimate of what your taxes might be.
And plus, if you live in Wildwood and your village is in Wildwood and is
And Fruitland Park has
Fruitland Park, they have an additional tax.
City
as
tax.
the city, yeah.
Mhm.
So which we don't have in Sumter County.
Yeah, so you just kind of gotta do a little investigating as to where you're at, because we do kind of have different tax structures.
But taxes here are a lot less, excuse me, than they were in Iowa or Missouri or Arkansas, where we've lived.
Yeah.
All those places. So, I mean, we were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it does seem that they're generally lower than a lot of the areas.
Because what we pay now, we were paying 25 years ago more than that in Iowa. So
yeah, it's definitely, I would say they're definitely cheaper than the rest of the country as a general statement, but that's a good way to investigate it is through your realtor and the county website.
yes, and along with that tax, there is no sales tax.
Correct.
So no income tax. I'm
no
sorry.
income tax, right?
No income tax.
Right.
So then that's a plus for for your more expenses. So
So, and the next thing to think about when you're purchasing a home is a bond. So the bond, basically what that is that is a fee that is assessed. It's kind of like an impact fee maybe. I don't know another term that you might want to use for it, but what that does is that's for the infrastructure of the villages. So your street lights, some of the neighbors have them, or neighborhoods have them, some don't, but your streets, your cart paths, like all the initial stuff that goes into your neighborhood. And like back when we bought, I think my bond was like $3,500 or something like that. And so what they do is they go to bond traders and they sell the bonds, and so you pay a certain percent of an interest rate on there. So it's typically lower than like what you would pay on a mortgage or whatever. But so for us, we owed like $3,000, $3,500. It was fairly low. What I understand now is down in the southern section of the villages, of course, inflation all these years later. But they are now up to, from what I've heard, about $40,000.
yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, so this ends up added to your tax bill. So this isn't something you have to pay in cash, but it gets added to your tax bill, and it's usually amortized over a period of time. So most of them are amortized 15 to 30 years. So you're basically, if your property taxes were say $2,000, then you maybe still be paying another $1,000 on top of that, which is for your bond. So it doesn't look separate. On the tax bill, it does show you the breakdown, but.
Well, and another thing is if you're looking for houses here, you will see the advertisement on some houses, no bond.
Yes, bond
So,
payment.
yeah, so then that, no bond and no popcorn. So that is, if you don't wanna add that to your house, I mean, and there are some houses that still have a bond on them,
Yes.
and significant, some, but, that is something you should look for too, and
Yes.
that'll be an expense.
Yes, and so that's something that you want to look into with your realtor. They can help you with all of that
Yep.
as well.
Yep. And another big thing is the amenity fees and that bill that you get from the Villages Development Center. And with that, you get your amenity fees, monthly amenity fees. Ours are about $164,
Mm-hmm.
and then your garbage, which comes twice a month, which is very
Twice
nice.
a week.
Twice a week. I lost my paper on the way over, so I'm just a little flustered. Twice a week for $35 a month, and then your sewer water, of course, how much you water, how much water you use. Ours runs about 40. So all those are all included in one, and that's our May payment was like $243. Not bad.
Yep, ours runs about $225, so that obviously varies basically just on the water usage.
Well, Mark takes long showers.
He's got a lot of hair.
He does.
Takes a lot of time.
That's true. And then we have Duke Electric because we don't have electric, but you have gas, right?
Yeah, so some parts of the villages have gas and others just have electric. So you have Duke and we have Tico or Seco. We've got Seco Tico, and one of them's gas and one of them's electric. So
So then you have two different bills because you have gas.
We
okay.
we do.
And our electric bill runs anywhere from $97 to $164, depending on spring and fall. You don't really run your air much because you can open the windows, but if it's cold in the winter, you're gonna pay more, and if it's really hot in the summer, obviously your bills will be higher than just any house.
Yeah, and our electric runs about 70 to 130, again, depending on the time of the year. And our gas bill runs 40, sometimes less, to $60, again, depending on how much, because our furnace is gas, and our dryer is gas, and our oven is gas. So depending on how much of that stuff we're using, that's what makes the difference there for us.
Yep.
So probably averaging 150-ish combined, because that's about what ours
Yeah.
would be, and that's about,
Yep.
so that would be a good average.
Yeah, it's about the same as we do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Should we do outside with the bugs and the?
Sure.
Yeah. So we use Lico. So every other month they come and spray for bugs outside or inside. But they kind of just do the perimeter unless you have a problem, and that's $50 every other month. And then the outside, the weeds and fertilizer, and that's every other month. Also about $55.
And our bug situation is different. We have somebody that comes in and they just do it twice a year, actually. They do it once on the inside, they do the whole inside, and then they do the whole outside the next time, and then they do just like a check where they knock down the webs of bug makers.
So is that your termite service also?
No, that's just the
separate.
regular bug. And so, but they're wonderful because, and we use a company called ProTech, and they're in Crystal River, and they're wonderful because if you ever do see a bug, like if I ever see a bug, I call them and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, we're on our way, and they'll come right out. But they must lay something different than yours do. And there are a bunch of bug companies and termite companies. So
Lots
you just
of
kind of
choices.
pick who,
Yeah.
and again, we've mentioned this before, but get somebody's recommendation. It's the
Talk
best
to the
way.
neighbors, yeah.
It's the best way to find a service provider.
Right.
So,
Because we have a termite service, that's every year, $145, and then that, when you buy your house, they'll come out and obviously inspect it. But as long as they come once a year, that keeps your guarantee.
See, what's interesting about that is we had a bond on ours, and it was every 10 years. So after 10 years, we had to pay. It was about $1,000 for them to retreat again, and then we still paid the annual fee. So, yeah. So we didn't get our termite thing renewed because we're like, that's a lot of money. So we're hoping everybody else around us is getting their termite stuff treated, so we don't have a problem. Fingers crossed.
You can just put that sign out, no termites allowed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that works. That works. Lawn, we pay $50 a month for the lawn to be mowed, trimmed. They blow everything off, and they're in and out of there pretty quick.
Yeah. And so just to be clear, when we talk about the amenity fee and all that, it is truly an amenity fee. We are single family homes, and so we do, even if you have a villa, you are still responsible for your own lawn care. And so for us, I mean, our yard is not big. We could easily go out and mow it ourselves. But if you want to travel, you also have to have room in your garage for your mower. That takes room away from golf carts and bicycles and fun stuff. So for us, we pay the same, $50 a month. And for us, it's well worth paying somebody to know that we can just take off. We want to go on a cruise for 3 weeks. We can go on a cruise and we're not hunting, because you're not going to find somebody that's just going to do it.
No,
We're going to be gone for a week. Could you do it?
Yeah.
They're going to say, no, sorry.
Yeah, and you will find a lot of people have their yards done because they're retired and they want to enjoy their retirement. So that's not a bad fee for, I mean, they're in and out of, what, 10, 20 minutes, if?
Takes them no time, so. We also down here, which is a unique thing that I wasn't aware of until we got to Florida either, is house washing. So, and actually I do kind of see it now that I look, like even in the Midwest, they get mold. So, but down here, it's very damp, so we get mold. And so you'll see, and especially if somebody's home is shaded on one side and they don't get it washed, you see the mold starting to grow on the siding and the side. It does happen on the block homes too. But you want to make sure that you get your home washed. Just what, I mean, we like to do it twice a year just because we like the way it looks. It really does
look nice,
make a difference. It gets all that dirt off. We have winds and
your
all that
bird
stuff.
cage also, a lot of stuff gets on your screens, and it looks so nice when they leave. And then some of your furniture, of course, if you have it outside, that'll get moldy too. And some of the places they'll charge you per chair or whatever, but it's just worth it because they have the chemical and they have the more powerful power wash than we do. I mean, we do it once kind of in between times if it's
Bad.
Pollen season.
Yeah. But we use the same guy. He's wonderful. And what does he charge us?
He charged us, I mean, I think the first time he came over was $120, but we had him do a lot of furniture, and we have a huge patio. He did, our driveway. I mean, you can have him just do your house. He has to be careful in our lanai because we have a regular season ceiling, and so I mean, it depends on what you have done.
Yeah, I think we usually pay like $70 a time.
Yeah.
And for us, we do it usually twice a year just because we like the way it feels with it being clean. And keep in mind here too, in Florida, there's a lot of really hardworking people, and we are in a retirement community, so nobody here really wants to work. So we tend to tip our people, I'm not gonna say super generously, it's not like, but just remember that these are really hardworking people, and we get to live a wonderful, charmed life, and so I appreciate them very much. So people like this, I tip. People like our lawn guy, I tip. I mean, we like to try and help them out a little bit because I think everything is very reasonably priced down here. Let's just say that. And so I don't feel bad throwing a little extra money to them for doing a great job, and all of our service providers are wonderful people. So I like to keep them happy, so they keep us happy.
Let's see what else. Oh, a pool. We were going to talk about pools. There's a lot of pools in the villages, but there's a lot of people that like their own. And we had a villa that we rented out, and we had a very small pool, and for someone to come clean it once a month or every other, I think it was once a month or every other week, but it was like $95.
And they do the chemicals probably.
They do the chemicals. They check the chemicals. They, clean it out. Every once in a while you have to backwash, and then they can tell if your filter's bad, blah blah blah. And there's several pool
companies.
I think they came once a week, so it was like $95. Yeah. And it might be higher now because chemicals and all the pool supplies are a lot higher, and a lot of people are going to the saltwater pool. Yeah. And ours was a chlorine pool.
But just remember, if you buy a house with a pool or a hot tub or both, you're going to have an additional expense unless you want to do it yourself. And again, that's one of those things that, kind of like the lawn, if you want to go away though for a month or two, your pool might not look the same when you come home if you don't have somebody to take care of it. So so that's just another expense to consider if you're thinking of buying a pool. We have mentioned we all drive around in golf carts. Our golf carts are our primary mode of transportation. And they're actually relatively cheap to insure. You don't have to have insurance. Okay, so the caveat here is for a true golf cart, that is not street legal, and we'll explain that a little bit, but if you're just driving your golf cart on the cart paths, it's just a golf cart. Those are not required to have insurance. However, they occasionally get stolen. They occasionally get into car wrecks or, cart wrecks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we pay $70 for each of our golf carts to be insured for a year. To me, it's well worth it, because if it does disappear, I would sure like it replaced. They are getting more and more expensive. When we bought ours about 7 years ago, I think we paid about $12,000 for each of them. They were brand new, and now I think they're more like 14, 15 for the basic ones.
Yeah,
maybe?
for basic. I mean, we just went and looked at Emerge and for all this stuff, because they have backup cameras now and all the fancy. It was 23 with tax.
Yeah. And if you want one of the yesteryear carts, the ones that kind of look like an old time car or a Porsche or a Jeep or whatever, those were running when we looked at them about 20 to 25,000, and they're probably higher more. So
who knows?
But so you might want to spend the little pittance to insure an investment.
And they go a long ways on a tank of gas.
Oh yeah.
It used to cost us $11 to fill it up, but the Mark filled it up yesterday. It was $21. And then we have an electric cart. So, and then we had a street legal. That electric cart was street legal. And when we bought it in 2010, the insurance companies didn't quite know how to insure them. Because here's this cart.
So explain what street legal is, Jan.
Well, street legal means I can drive on any road that is 35 miles or less per hour.
So there are some roads down here that you cannot take your golf cart on.
Right.
That normal golf cart, you have to stay on the path. But if you have a street legal, you can actually go down like Buena Vista, or is that 35? Yeah, Buena Vista.
Anything that's 35, and then we're legal to cross
any of the streets too.
45 mile an hour street.
Yeah.
Like at a light or whatever. We could go over to Lowe's or whatever just by driving down the street and over. But the insurance was very high. And I'm like, I couldn't understand. It was as much as Arturic.
Yeah, so it's basically like insuring an automobile. And you do have to have license plates for those as well. You must tag them with the state. So
and you can get a ticket like a car, and if you're driving under the influence with that vehicle, you can definitely
well, that's with any of the golf carts. So if you get caught,
well, I know, but then that's in a vehicle.
Yes,
a
little bit different drive, little different license thing. So, but anyway, so the ones that we're talking about are the one we're talking about, the $70 per cart. That's for a golf cart, not street legal.
Right.
Street legal, you're probably looking at paying what you might pay on an automobile. So
and I think if you need to shop around.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, and there's quite a few street legal carts here.
There are. Yeah. So, and speaking of insurance for cars, we have one truck. And it's like a 2-year-old truck, so it's not old, but it's a pickup truck, and it costs us $1,500 a year. And what makes me laugh about it is it's a one vehicle, and there's 2 of us, so only one of us can be driving at a time. So it's not like we're both driving. I mean, I just don't. That seems like a lot of money.
But I think Florida is
one of the highest.
One of the highest, if not the highest, for insurance. And we pay on our car $1,300 so a year. But it's a no fault state too, right?
I don't remember. I think I've heard that where so your insurance pays even if somebody else
is fault.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of lawyers here though too. So call Daniel and
Morgan & Morgan.
Months and months.
That's why your insurance is so high. And you also have older drivers.
Yes.
So there are
and a lot of visitors, a lot of people that don't know where they're going.
Right. And we hear a lot of sirens. So
yes. So that kind of covers your house and things like that. We also get the newspaper. The newspaper is $88 a year, so it's pretty cheap. You figure less than $10 a month. We talked about,
and the nice thing about the newspaper here is when you go out of town, you shoot them an email, and they stop it, and you tell them when you want it back, and
they're really good about that.
Yeah. So then your subscription lasts longer because you're stopping it and starting it. And I'm always saying, I'm sorry, we're leaving again. I feel bad for the poor person that delivers it, but Anyway.
And another thing that we had mentioned in our golf video is that there's also a website here that you can be a part of. So if you're a golfer, we would recommend that you do it. It's thevillages.net, and that we pay $8 a month for. These are all just tiny little fees, but you know, you should know there are tiny little fees that come along. So it's $8 a month, and that's so that you can reserve a tee time. We won't go into all the details on that, but that gives you some information about the villages. It also then allows you to book tee times. And it's a pretty informative website, and for $8, it's
worth it.
Well worth it.
Yeah. And then you can get an email address there too.
You can.
Yeah. I don't use it, but I should.
Me either.
And one of our big expenses here is golf.
Yes.
And we've talked about the golf. We golf probably 3 times, 4 times, sometimes a week. And for the 2 of us, it can run from $90 to $100.
Yes.
And
we're gonna put the rates up so you get an idea of what the golf
Yeah.
rates are, so you can kind of make that determination yourself.
But you can also golf the free ones, the
Yes.
executive, so that if you're not a big golfer, that's not an expense for you. But if you love to golf, you know, budget for that.
Yeah, if you play the championship courses, and I just kind of did an average with my numbers, and during the height of the season, we pay about $50 per person around. So and Leo and I usually play together, so it's $100 around. And then during the summertime, at the time we play, and they have a breakdown of the times. Anyway, we pay, it averages about $30 around, so we're paying $60. So I kind of did an average of, if you pay $40 around per person, times 2 people, $80 around, we spend probably $800 a month. That's for us, for Leo and I. And as Jan said, the executives are all free though, so golf your heart away for free.
Right. And then a lot of times if you want to eat at the golf or the country club, so then that's an expense too. And then you can get a cheap meal, or you can get more expensive. And if you have drinks, and you know, so we used to eat out a lot when we were first here.
We did too.
Now a lot of times we come here. She's a great cook, or we'll come to my house after golf. I'm not as good.
Not true.
But anyway, so that if you like to eat out after, or just have a drink, you know, or before you go home and eat. But if that's part of your lifestyle, then that will be an expense. Otherwise, clubs are free, and you know, it's.
Yeah, I have to say, when we first moved here, we laughed because you know, you're so excited to be here. You're retired. You finally have all this time, and you want to drive your golf cart. So you take your golf cart out and you go to the square, and you start out in the morning and you go have lunch and a drink, and then you go to a pool, and then later you're going to go out in the square. And we said we ate and drank our way through the villages, and I was like, where is our money going? I could not believe it, because then too, to Jan's point, we would golf, and then you know, we golf from 1 to 5. So now it's like, well, I'm not going to cook. Let's just go to the country club. And by the time you have, even if you just have like 1 cocktail and a meal, we spent $100 with a tip and everything for 2 people easily.
Yep.
So it was like all of a sudden our $100 round of golf turned into a $200 round of golf because and so I really did start to look at like, where are we bleeding? And we were bleeding money eating out and drinking out because it is expensive. So,
but you were so excited. I mean, we were the same way. I mean, it was just like, I'm on vacation. You know, it's kind of like when you first get here, you do feel like we weren't retired. I was, but Mark wasn't. And you feel like you're on vacation all the time. So you are kind of spending, and until you like realize and say, whoa.
Yeah. It's fun. Do it, and then when you run out of money, then you change. But we've mentioned I'm not a crowd person, so for us anyway, it's fine to come home and eat at home and drink at home or whatever, and safer and all that stuff. If we have cocktails, at least we're in our own environment, in our own home. So, but going to the food thing, so eating out is one thing that if you are, and this is all, everybody has their own lifestyle. So for Leo and I will say, we do not spend a lot of money eating out. I would say we probably average $200 a month eating out, because we just don't do it that much. But now, then you think about your groceries. I think groceries here are more expensive. Alcohol is definitely more expensive than Illinois. Like even just buying in the grocery store. And the groceries here, I think, are more expensive. I think even though like you think Florida's got fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, they still are expensive for whatever reason. So I would say now there's a Sam's close by. There's now a BJ's. We haven't been there, but they just opened. There is a Costco in Orlando. So basically, it depends on how you shop. We tend to go to Sam's, we load up on meat. So we have one really expensive shopping trip, usually a month. That can be $300-400, which is for our meats and stuff like that. And then we just go grocery shopping each week as we go, and for the fresh stuff that we need.
Right.
So I would say that we spend probably $600-700 a month in groceries. That's what we spend for, and that's for 2 people, but that's,
Right. And
we entertain a lot. We have people over a lot. And
this
so
is my favorite restaurant.
it's not bad.
No,
most
it's
times.
very good. Trust me.
So that's anyway. So
yeah,
that's,
and now groceries are more expensive, so we probably spend about that too. So, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe we eat more than most people.
I don't think so. I just think it just, you know, we like to cook, and so for a lot of the people here in the villages, food, like dinners and lunches and cocktails and all that becomes your social time. So
Yes.
your friends, hey, you want to come over for a drink? Hey, you want to come over for dessert afterward? Hey, you want to come for dinner or whatever? And so you do find that you are maybe entertaining at home a little bit more than you maybe did when you were working, because you didn't have time to have people over all the time. Now
Right.
you've got plenty of time to
And
cook. And
Our neighborhood does a lot of potlucks. Somebody say, hey, we're gonna throw something on the grill, and everybody brings something, and so a lot of neighborhoods do that.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So most everything we've mentioned here is free as far as your amenities. So you can go play tennis on hard courts for free. You can play pickleball. You can play bocce. You can do, like, if you look at any of our videos, the stuff that we're doing at the rec centers, that's all free. Okay, so it's included in your amenity fee, the $165 we talked about. The
pool.
places,
and some of the pools,
Yeah.
except for like
most of the pools.
yeah, except for the country club pools, they're
Yeah.
free.
So basically, you can get away with doing no activities that cost anything. So the things that cost basically are your golf courses, tennis. If you play tennis, you can play on the hard courts. Those are all free. There are clay here, hard true courts. So we have 10 hard true courts here, and those you do have to pay. And so I was kind of looking at their rates. The average runs about $16 for a 2-hour slot. And so most tennis players that I know play about 3 times a week. And so they're spending about $50 a week. So maybe $200 a month would be for tennis if you want to play on the hard true. A lot of the older players like to play on the hard true, or people that have had injuries to knees, ankles, hips, because the hard courts can be very tough on the body. The hard true courts are also a little bit cooler. So when you're playing in the summertime, that heat just radiates off that hard court. So a lot of players like the hard true courts. So if tennis is your thing and you want to play on the clay, that's what you'll want to think about as far as the tennis courts go, because the hard true courts will cost you a little bit of money. So that you would want to add into your budget. And the other thing that that I could think of here that costs anything that you may want to get involved in is they have an Enrichment Academy. It's kind of like a college courses for retired people. It's, you don't get college credits or anything, so don't misunderstand that. But like they'll do pottery courses. So you'll pay I don't think it's even been that expensive. Like you'll pay $50 for the supplies, and then you go to a class, and it'll be somebody that probably taught art or something in their prior life, and they'll show you how to make a pot, or how to crochet, or how to speak Spanish, or there's a million different things that you can learn. So you don't have to stop your learning if you have that mind and you want to keep growing as a person, and again, didn't have the time to do it maybe when you were working. So the Enrichment Academy, you can check through the district website, and then they've got like a little book, and it tells you what activities are coming up and what classes you can sign up for. Those typically do come with a charge.
Yep.
So that would be another place that you may spend your money villages wise.
Right. And another place you could spend your money is going to concerts. And we talk about this on a couple other videos, that there's a lot of concerts, an opportunity to see concerts. So, and that's a wide range of how much those cost also.
Yeah, there's something almost every night at the Savannah Center or Sharon. So,
yeah,
and those can run you some money depending on the artist.
Depending on how famous the person is, or if it's a Broadway show or whatever, it's a little more expensive.
They've even had like Jay Leno's been here. I mean, they have Howie Mandel's been here. So like for the comedian thing, and they've had some bands. So they have And then some of them are just like a tribute band, like they'll have like
Yeah.
an Eagles tribute band. So it's not the Eagles, it's their music. But those are a little bit, I mean, they're cheaper than going to see the Eagles, but they're still, you know,
I mean,
maybe
they're very
you get it
good.
for 35 to 55 bucks
Yeah.
or whatever.
We
So
we went to see the Guess Who a couple years ago, and it was not bad. And I think Kansas, we
Mhm.
saw at the Sharon.
yeah,
And
that was actually
awesome.
Kansas.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
actually was them. So
They looked old.
they're probably aged a little bit.
I'm sure they're younger than I am.
And one other thing that I had kind of thought of, because we had an RV for a time, is RV storage. So obviously you can store an RV or a boat. This would be for, you know, any of your outdoor activity, big vehicle items. So you can't leave those on your driveway here in the villages. And I would say that most of our garages are not large enough to house them. There are some homes that are premier homes that do have large enough garages to house RVs or boats. You're going to pay for it. But so when we put our RV in storage, you can go to, there's a bunch of private places out here that have their own lots, etc. Or you can go through the villages, and the villages actually has some on site here, and they are gated, so you have to have a village's swipe card to get into those, and they have security. We have these little security guards. They're not really security guards. I don't know. They're community watch people, and they are employed though by the villages. And so what they end up doing is they drive around, and so they drive those lots at least once an hour. And I will say, every time that my husband and I were there working on our RV, loading it, doing whatever, somebody came through. So I felt pretty comfortable, and so that's why I kind of like them. I don't care if you have an RV or boat, you put it where you'd like to put it. I liked it for that for that bonus, that I felt like at least somebody was in there looking at them. And so anyway, we paid about $50 a month for that. And so they just added it to our utility bill. So instead of our utility bill being like the $225 that it normally is, it was $275, but that included our storage. You can do a boat, an RV. Some people I've seen store cars out there, so they must have maybe too many cars or something like that. And so I've seen them just store their cars out there. So anyway, that could be an added expense if you have that type of vehicle that you need to, any kind of recreational vehicle that you need to house somewhere.
Right, because you can't.
No, you can't have them in your driveways here.
Not more than 3 days to unload or load.
Yeah, you get that little bit of time. So overall, outside of obviously your incidental expenses, things that you're going to want to do, buying things for people, shopping for yourself or whatever, I kind of did a running total, and it pretty much costs us in our life. And again, keep in mind, our taxes could be different than what you might be looking at, because you may be looking at a different sized home in a different area, different bond, different all of that. So, but for Leo and I, our expenses are generally, the way we live our life, it costs us about $2,600 a month to live here.
And I
Just
would
to
tell
give
you
an
how
idea.
much it cost me, but my paper flew out while I was driving here.
But most of our expenses are pretty close.
I could add it up right now.
Yeah, I think your property
It's
taxes
probably
are
about the same,
a little bit
yeah.
higher because
Yeah.
they bought a little bit later. But so, but generally, I mean, I would say, I don't know, depending on again your lifestyle, $2,500, $3,000, maybe $3,500 a month to live here, because
And it's well worth it.
tons to do. And again, you could live a much cheaper lifestyle. Out of that $2,600, I just told you, we run about $800 in golf. So if I didn't golf on the championship courses, now my expenses are down to $1,800 a month.
Yeah,
So,
or going out to eat or,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you're on a budget, you can still make it work. And the great thing is, there are so many free things to do here. It's not like you don't have any money, so you can't leave your home and there's absolutely nothing to do and you're going to go bored just watching TV. Then you might as well stay where you're at. But
Well,
here
and
there's
in the
plenty to do.
wintertime, when it's nice and warm here, you can sit outside and read a book. That's free.
yeah, there's a lot to do for
Oh, yeah.
us now.
Mhm.
Anyway, so, well, hopefully this gives you some ideas of how much money that you may want to think about budgeting for moving to the
What
villages.
it's going to cost, and it can vary.
Depends on your own lifestyle, but
Giving
that
it,
gives you
you
an
know,
idea.
We're giving you an idea, and you can think
Take it
about
from there.
Yeah.
So, hope you enjoyed and have a great day.